You are now live. Welcome, everybody, to Late Night with JapJap. Trina Bear, welcome, brother man. Oh, perfect timing. And for the record, whenever I accidentally overlap with Big Bear streams and someone lets me know, Bajo Bear, welcome. My first response is, fuck me, go watch Big Bear streams. Or, if you don't really give a shit about watching Big Bear streams live, then great, watch this and then just watch Big Bear's streams later on. It's not that big of a deal. Surprise! More people want to listen to Big Bear. I understand that. Trainer Bear, you give me too much credit. So the concept that I've been reminiscing on today has been something that I've been considering for months now, where it's just the whole concept of cowardly American Christians. And for the longest time, I was like, fuck Bajo Bear, welcome. Livin' Lovin' Bear, welcome. And so for the longest time, I was just like, fuck American Christians, they're all hypocrites, they're all liars, fuck all of them. But no, that's not the move. I understand that most Americans, in general, Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, whatever the fuck your belief system is, most Americans in general are just beyond retarded. And there's literally Department of Defense reports that show that the average level of ignorance of the average American is a national security threat. Yes, Bajo Bear, exactly, that's where I was going. Cowardly Christians are just confused, or Trainer Bear is joining on. Trainer Bear is one of the most legendary Christians I know. What's up, brother?
Greetings from the Bay Area.
From the Bay Area? How dare you, communist?
I just drove across the state. I was up in Humboldt County looking at pounds and pounds of marijuana.
Yeah, that's the green emerald, bro.
Yeah. So I was reading a little book of John, and I wanted to get your thoughts on something.
Go for it.
First of all, I definitely had what's that called when you remember something a different way than it was?
Deja vu?
No, like how they didn't actually say if you build it, they will come, even though
that's the
Mandela effect. That's what it is.
Yeah, Mandela effect. Thank you, Mandela effect.
So I was reading, and it was like Jesus on the cross, and he's like, I'm thirsty, and then they offered him the sour wine, and I was like, oh, this is the part where he doesn't take the drink, and then it was like, and he drank it. I'm like, oh, how did I confuse that? But that's not the part I want to talk to you about. So it's interesting because he'd take the drink of sour wine, then they pierced him, and water came out of him. So, and I've never heard this before, maybe you've heard this before, but so his first miracle was turning water into wine, and then his last one was turning sour wine back into water.
So I see the potential synchronicities there. And from my research, not only Jesus literally sweating tears of blood, but also when he was physically pierced on the cross, those are both independently verifiable medical conditions that can be tracked.
Awesome.
And so, that being said, it's a lot of the crazy things that were like, oh, Jesus Christ did all these crazy miracles and blah, blah, blah. All right, great, yeah. Whether or not he did those things, we can still prove he was a historical figure, and through Roman records, we can still verify the account of Jesus Christ and, the Gospels through secular historical accounts.
So I was trying to get some spiritual gravy.
So spiritual gravy with respect to water to wine, then wine to water at the end?
Yeah, there's something about that. Anyways, I don't know. I don't have anything there. Also, why do you think Pilate was so strong, adamant to make sure that the cross said King of the Jews in all three languages that were around in the area?
So to answer that question specifically is, I think that Pontius Pilate is probably in heaven, because as a Roman governor, he was like, all right, I've got to placate the local population, and so I'm going to do XYZ. And XYZ happened to be persecuting Christ. And then after Pontius Pilate realized who the fuck Jesus Christ really was, the Bible makes a specific point. Pontius Pilate washed his hands. It's you guys do you. And then even moving beyond that, the Roman guards, when Jesus Christ actually died, they specifically, according to biblical text, the Roman guards literally were like, this must be the Son of God. And so there's a variety of specific instances in the Gospels where, with Pontius Pilate, with the various Roman guards, etc., where it's all right, those guys literally saw the power of Christ firsthand, and even though they may have been deceived at first, just the raw exposure to Jesus Christ convinced them and changed their lives and opinions entirely.
So I have a theory that the Pharisees went to Pontius Pilate behind the scenes and made him put King of the Jews on there because they wanted to sacrifice for their wicked sins. So they're like,
well, so
if
the Jews,
they basically declared him the Messiah, and then they got him killed for their sins.
If the Jews had, the Pharisees more specifically, if the Pharisees and the Sadducees, that whole group of Jews, had specifically lobbied for Pontius Pilate to put King of the Jews on Jesus Christ's little sign, two questions. Question one is, why would they promote him being King of the Jews when the entirety of the rest of the Gospels was them denying that fact? Question two is, if they lobbied for that specific signage to be on the cross of Jesus Christ, why would the Bible then say they bitched about it later on and complained and oh, how dare you? Welcome, welcome, everybody.
I mean, if we haven't learned anything, haven't we learned that these gravelers love blood sacrifices?
Well, yes, obviously they love blood sacrifices, but they also love discharging karma. And so by putting the spiritual karma on Pontius Pilate for specifically ordering the death of Christ, the Pharisees can lay any accusations they want and also just be the whole how dare you group, and simultaneously be super accusatory from a spiritual standpoint, but also be karmically released, because technically the Jews were not allowed to authorize the execution of anyone. It's a beautiful puzzle.
When the
Himalayan brown bear, welcome, welcome. Stand by real quick. You're breaking up a little bit, and I want to hear everything you have to say. Christopher, welcome, welcome. Right now we've got the white circle of loading death, and I want Trainer Bear is back. Trainer Bear, tell me all your knowledge. I want to hear it. You're back. Son of a bitch, and now you're loading again. This is like the most inconvenient. Oh, wait. Trainer Bear's back.
I'm going through a rough signal here.
You're going through a rough signal here.
Oh, this sucks.
All right.
It'll be, you keep talking, I'll be another 30 seconds probably.
Well, I only start talking to interrupt you whenever I see the white circle of loading death, because like I want to hear everything you have to say, but at the same time, like from previous streams, like not from you, but from other people, is the loading screen of like white circular of death is like generally means that I can't talk to someone really interesting for a good like 2 or 3 minutes. And now that you're saying that that you're going through a low signal area, I just want to hear what you have to say, bro. But obviously the phone signal is grabbling us right now. We should use our green phones that Nixon used. Oh, yes. Bajo Bear, perfect idea. You know what? Bell Reaver, welcome, welcome. Bell Reaver has not Bell Reaver. Bajo Bear has a wonderful point. Instead of using these phones that we're currently using, let's use the phones that Nixon used to talk to Neil Armstrong on the moon, because that would significantly increase our signal strength. Obviously, that's not a logical thing that can possibly be done, but I enjoy the joke. So I was talking to someone earlier today, and they claim to be very caring and very understanding. And yet when I present very clear facts that offend their feelings, they instantly drop all pretenses of giving a shit or being understanding or gentle or whatever the Christian values are. And while I'm very well aware of this pattern in the whole leftist Antifa, like retards, like just douchebag, satanic piece of shit people, like I get that. But the more and more that bleeds over into this Christian community, I find interesting, especially considering the blatant hypocrisy of the church's closing of late. And over the past month or so, I've, I guess, made amends with various individuals in my life. And what I've noticed is that by me just being truthful and not lying, and just trying to engage with someone that I care about, that because I try not to lie, Trainer Bear, welcome back, because I do my best not to lie, and these people don't even know the extent into which they're lying to themselves, I become the bad guy because I'm not. Trainer Bear, back, brother.
I'm back. Uh-oh.
Do you have a solid connection now?
It's got 2 bars now instead of 1.
Woohoo! 2 bars! What's up, brother, man? What were you saying before?
All right. Your video is not there. What happened? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's a little bit grabbled, but I've got basic audio and I've got basic video.
Bars. 3 bars. I need 3 bars to talk to JapJap Bear.
It's like a video game accomplishment. I have 3 bars of service. Oh, goodness. Apparently, Trana Bear does not have 3 bars of service. Aaron, Siggy, welcome, welcome. We're trying to get Trana Bear's connection to increase so that we can hear the gravy from him. As I just kind of like...
I'm ruining
Oh, wait, Trana Bear's back. You're not ruining my stream at all, bro. You're just, like, forcing me to improvise. Yeah, whatever you feel is necessary to increase the quality of the stream, I'm definitely down for. But like I was saying before, Trainer Bear, you're not decreasing the quality of the stream. It's just your cell phone quality sucks. You still have wonderful ideas and lots to contribute. And of course, I fucking love you, Trainer Bear. It just so happens that your connection sucks. That's it. Which is an interesting analogy now that I think about it, because in this kind of situation, the vast majority of people would be like, oh, you say my connection sucks? How dare you? You think I'm a hateful person now. No, dude, you can go fuck yourself. I don't hate you, but if your connection sucks, then your connection sucks. And that has nothing to do with me. That being said, if you have something interesting to say, I want to help you improve your connection so that I can hear the gravy. Example, Trainer Bear. Trainer Bear is consistently providing wonderful background information and gravy and knowledge. It just so happens that his connection sucks right now. So we're going to move past it, and once that works out, then we can receive the gravy from Trainer Bear.
4 bars!
4 bars! Woohoo!
Back to 3. So, when the Grappler believes that one has used their platform to elevate in fame, they believe they have the right to sacrifice that man.
Correct.
Right? That's why we're safe from a Grappler sacrifice. Maybe. Unless you get really famous on Instagram, JapJap Bear, then maybe you might have an issue here.
Yeah, just don't get famous and you're not going to be a target. That's it.
Right. So they're like, well, Jesus got famous in our temple. Even though, like, they didn't build a temple. But, you know, that's how they think.
Well,
Jesus got famous during our festival.
So, like, even though the Pharisees that disagreed with Jesus weren't the ones to build the temple, I think that's a really good modern-day analogy, because the vast majority, if not the entirety of the SJWs that are currently just, like, doing bullshit on social media, they weren't the programmers. They didn't develop the software. They didn't build the platform. They're just being Pharisees and Sadducees and being SJW retards.
Gravy. 1 bar.
Right? Just a modern-day version of Pharisees, bro. There's nothing new under the sun.
So, do they have the power of a Pharisee, though? I guess they can get people fired.
So before we establish, do they have the power of a Pharisee? First, we have to historically establish the validity and power of a Pharisee within that cultural zeitgeist.
They had the power of media. They were the media then, and they were the media now. They are the media now.
So I asked the question just for factual context, but I think you've already answered it in a very accurate way.
So you're saying the SJWs are the media? So you're saying SJWs are really a basically an extension of the Graveler's mindset?
Pretty much, bro.
That seems to be selling
like,
the Graveler short to me.
Well, so that's the nuance, is where the Gravelers have an intense desire to increase their fiscal power, to increase their cultural power. SJWs don't have that intellectual wherewithal. The SJWs tend to only have the intellectual capacity to shame people without any sort of regard for a long-term strategy. As Yuri Bezmenov said, they're useful idiots. And so I think that's the major difference between like Old Testament, New Testament, Pharisees, Sadducees versus this modern day version of SJWs. Like back in the day, they had a factual basis. They were just wrong. The modern day SJWs are just, not only are they wrong, but they no longer have a factual basis. So they're double wrong.
You know, the SJWs are probably, they were definitely the people that the Pharisees were able to kind of go through the crowd with their little newspapers or porn or whatever, that were able to convince them to say, crucify Jesus.
Yup.
The SJWs would be, that is funny. So yeah.
The useful idiots of the New Testament.
Also, the what?
The modern day SJWs like are the useful idiots from the New Testament that the Pharisees and Sadducees used.
Yes, useful idiots. Nice term. Did you make that up?
No, that's a term from Yuri Bezmenov from the KGB. I can take zero credit for that. All Yuri and the KGB.
Well, nice recall. You can take credit for the recall. So, you know what though? You know, a lot of preachers, they talk about the enemy, and usually they're up there and they're just basically telling you about their problems, their enemy. They're like, and when the enemy causes you to go into your bedroom at 1 a.m. and open up Pornhub, you say no. And then you're like, well, I don't watch porn. So, but.
Well, most teachers don't even touch pornos, bro. Like these days.
Most what?
Most preachers don't even touch the topic of pornos these days.
Oh yeah, it's such a high number that fall into that.
Yeah, like 99 or like was it 98, 99% of American Christians watch pornos. So that includes pastors. And so if these fucking faggots that claim to be men of God are constantly squirting to fucking runaways trying to get drug money, it would make sense they wouldn't mention their own hypocrisy in their own sermons. And we see a trend of that throughout the majority of American churches.
Exactly, and they're not, and the ones that do are not effective because they're just trying to shame people and they're not watching them through like religious shame, which is the most ineffective kind of shame there is. Religious shame usually actually has a reverse effect. It causes people to go that direction. Whereas
Exactly.
Big Pair is like, hey, you're gay. If you're jacking off to another man having sex with a woman, you should want to be that man. And if you're not, you have a problem with your being a man. This is basically all a big challenge of like, you're not a man if you watch porn. And then you're like, fuck that, I'm a man. That's a lot better than God is not happy with you when you watch porn. And those same people will be like, well, God's
Well,
not
yeah,
happy.
so like the weakness of saying like God disapproves of you watching porn comes with Jesus forgives all sin. So it's like, oh, Jesus forgives this misstep, so I shouldn't be such a big deal. I shouldn't condemn myself. Or you can be like, all men who watch porn are not men. They're little bitches who claim to be men. And obviously Owen does it in a way funnier way, but it's like putting that hard truth with a comedic insight is what really drives people towards the truth. It's not social shaming or religious shaming or whatever fucking anything, but it's comedic value, like with actual real truth.
Yeah, Jesus was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, dude, Jesus was hilarious.
Dude, whenever I watch Jesus like interacting with the Pharisees, I laugh almost every time.
Yup.
What was I gonna say about that? Well, church. Dang it! How did we get onto the porn thing? Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Okay, so grabblers. So these pastors, they try to explain what the devil's like and how the enemy works against you. If we took a collective of every bear's comment and description and stories of and theories of the grabbler, we would have the best picture of the devil that the world's ever seen. And
Most likely.
so, it makes me think that the Jews, they're like, we're a little bit hard on them. Hear me out.
Bajo Bear! Too fucking far.
I don't know what he says.
Bajo Bear! Too fucking far. Sorry, Trainer Bear. Continue.
Bajo Bear has no filter. But he is going to be the king of the Southwest California region, so we must continue to pay honor. You vomited when I said. I don't know if you heard what I said when you vomited. If you vomited to what I said or to what Bajo said.
No, it was all a reaction to Bajo Bear's very explicit description in his comment.
The timing was hilarious because right when I said maybe we're a little too hard on the Jews, you went bleh.
Oh no, I agree. Like, we are not hard enough. Oh no, I disagree.
Yeah.
We're not hard enough on the Jews.
Okay.
We should go harder.
Hear me out, because this is a backhanded compassion. Because we can get such a clear picture of Satan by breaking down the Grabbler, which we're basing off of the Jew, then the Grabbler Jew gives us benefits because the Grabbler Jew is the best picture of the devil. Huh? See what I did there? That's the ultimate backhanded compliment.
I get the rhetorical basis of what you're saying, which is hilarious. But to be completely factual, we have to go back to the whole concept that not all Grabblers are Jews, not all Jews are Grabblers. And as much as I hate to admit that, like, it's a fact of life.
Right, okay, that's true. But any non-Grabbler Jew, where do you think the model came from?
Any non-Grabbler Jew...
Non-Jew Grabbler, I mean. Any non-Jew Grabbler.
Any non-Jew Grabbler, obviously they're servants of Satan. They're like, their father is the author of lies. The Bible is very clear about that. And I will not, disagree in any way, shape, or form. That being said, I feel as though due to the high volume of Jews, quote-unquote, Jews, that entertain these malevolent forms of behavior, although they may or may not include the majority of quote-unquote Jews, that does not mean that all Jews are worshippers of Satan, whether consciously or unconsciously, by exhibiting said behavior that we're describing.
So that wasn't where I was going. Okay, so any non-Jew Grabbler, I would suggest the model is the Jew Grabbler. And basically we're talking about black people now. I don't know if you realize that, but that's what we're doing right now. Because all of why is it Drake the rapper is all of a sudden Jewish, you know, like...
Well, dude, he's half Jew. That's why he's self-produced. Like, remember the whole Owen Benjamin stream that went into the history of, like, rap? And how all of them were produced by Jews? If you remember correctly, the one exception to that was Drake, who is, quote-unquote, self-produced. And he just so happens to be part Jew.
I think that these black rappers, maybe, so you were saying he was born by a Jewish parent?
Correct.
Well, that would be a huge shame to a Jewish family if of high power if they got married to a non-Jew.
Well, so think about it this way. The Jewish lineage is continued by the female. So if the female happens to find a big dick...
Ah, yes, okay.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
The babbler's obsession with the penis.
Yeah.
So,
The Bible's all about the P.
like, do you know about this, like, Black Hebrew thing group?
I'm vaguely familiar with it.
Yeah, everyone's vaguely familiar with it because if you're not a Black Hebrew, you're getting
Well,
as accurate information as you are about the Proud Boys, probably.
well, so like the Black Hebrew movement is a derivative of like their main basis, or one of their main like. Obviously, the Black Hebrew movement as a whole is very nuanced. They all have different beliefs, blah blah blah. But historically speaking, their main basis for the Black Hebrew movement comes from Queen Sheba after she got fucked by King Solomon and did the whole like Hebrew thing in in Ethiopia.
What?
That's where the Hebrews like derive their roots from.
Dude, that's gravy. That kind of reminds me of the Muslim.
Say again?
It kind of reminds me of the Muslim.
Yeah, very similar kind of concepts.
Because Abraham banged Ishmael and then sent her on her way.
Well, Abraham banged Ishmael's mom, but yeah.
Yeah.
Abraham banging Ishmael would not have done anything. But continue, I know where you're coming from.
If he was a graveler, it might be a possible range of outcomes. So they were sent on their way. They went to their territory. They rose up and they started to wreak havoc on the Jews. Right? Now, that's interesting that the Black Hebrew movement could end up the same thing if they're raising up together. Like, I was on my Facebook right now, and I have a friend who's like a big black church leader, and he did some white from the debate and whatnot, and I was like, I have friends in these quote unquote white supremacist groups, and to be honest, they're not really anti-black. They're anti another group that lies to black people, and actually, most of these white supremacists are more along the lines that whites and blacks should be together in fighting a different group,
Yes.
But that would be fascinating if that Black Hebrew movement grows and they are like, wait a second, Solomon just banged our dad just banged our mom and then left and has a whole other family that he loves and cares about and not us. And now it'll be blacks and Muslims versus the Jews.
I never thought about that before, but that makes so much sense. Queen Sheba was a single fucking mother.
Single mother like all the black.
Oh my goodness! No way! I never thought about that angle before.
She had to call up Solomon for the food stamps and the welfare. Like, hey, you're gonna come spend time with your kid?
Uncle Colt, welcome.
And she's like,
yeah, Baho Bear. My mind was just equally blown by that because on its surface value, it sounds very quote unquote offensive. But historically speaking, it makes a lot of sense.
hey, send him pigeon to Solomon and tell him to come get his damn kid.
Well, see, I guess diving deeper into that, it's the Queen of Sheba had the best of intentions because her courtiers, like her court members, they were telling her about all these wonderful things about the court of King Solomon, and she was like, oh, they've got the fancies? They've got the super fancies? I don't believe you. It can't be that great. Let me go check it out for myself. And then according to biblical texts, when she checked it out for herself, she was like, this is even better than anything that could possibly be described. Then she got preggo, and here we are.
She had the basketball wives mentality. She's like, I'm just going to go make him get a bait. I'm going to trick him to get me pregnant, and then he's going to have to be with me.
Joke's on you. King Solomon had like 800 wives.
The King Solomon is just like, check,
No.
another one in the books.
He had
Meanwhile,
300 wives and 700 concubines.
yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, he didn't realize he just slowly dropped his seed into the destruction of his people.
Well, dude, he was just squirting.
Damn.
What do you think Americans do with pornos? They're just squirting.
Squirting has consequences. Holy shit. The abortion. All those dead babies. Like, that, it would, imagine if Solomon was just like, oh, you know what? I don't want to take care of the baby. Just go kill him. That's basically what abortion is.
Well, like, from a satanic point of view, to be fair, if King David had aborted all of his babies except for King Solomon, then the rebellion of Absalom and the rebellion of that other fuckface would have never have happened. Just to play devil's advocate.
The Grabbler? You think the Grabblers are just trying to play, like, just a numbers game? Like, if we kill enough babies, maybe we'll kill the Messiah?
Well, it's not so much a numbers game of trying to kill the Messiah. They already know. Subconsciously, the Messiah's already been born and done his thing. But it's like where King David had all these wives, all these concubines, and like blah, blah, blah. And because King David did not uphold the moral ability to have one wife, like how God says we should do things, he brought all this crazy drama upon himself. Like Absalom and the other fucking douchebag. Both of his, like King David's, like, two eldest sons tried to make themselves kings. Like, Absalom tried to kill King David. And when we look into this whole, like, historical narrative, it's like, oh, if King David hadn't been such a douchebag, he would have had one wife with however many kids God blessed him with, and there would have been no questioning in the line of succession, and these various things wouldn't have happened. And Israel would have been blessed.
Do you realize that there's only, like, one person on the stream right now, which is Bajo Bear, the legend, that just got delivered the finest gravy? Like...
Well, now that you've mentioned it, yeah, I've looked up, and now I see that there's one person here, and you said it's Bajo Bear, so I assume I'm just talking to you and Bajo Bear, which I'm cool with.
I told you I ruined your stream today.
How'd you ruin my stream?
Well, you got one person on right now. That's pretty low.
Why do I give a fuck about the numbers?
That's what Big Bear was just talking about in his stream, that he ended at 7:59. Oh, you know why you have one number? Because Big Bear started streaming. That's why you have one. They all left to go see Big Bear. Fair enough.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, like, more power to him. Big Bear has more gravy, and he's way smarter than me. Great.
Although the Queen Sheba gravy was pretty high level, I'm not going to lie.
Appreciate that, brother.
Well, we came there together. We were co-chefing the kitchen on the so Queen Sheba is the mother of the black people, and
Queen Sheba is the mother of Black Lives Matter.
She's the single mother of Black Lives Matter. Oh, and now the Black Hebrew movement is going to rise up. But that would get ugly, man. If it was like blacks, because like the white people, they're not going to just barge up in like the Federal Reserve and just start taking people. Just start slitting throats.
Not yet.
Even though they might deserve it. The black mob, on the other hand, they might go ahead and do that.
Well, so that's one thing I find a false dichotomy, is people are like, oh, if the whites were exposed to this, they wouldn't riot like the blacks do. Well, yeah, obviously, because the whites, the quote-unquote so-called whites, have different trigger mechanisms than the so-called blacks do. So, if you just trigger the so-called whites in the same manner in which they're vulnerable to which you're triggering the so-called blacks, yeah, you're going to get the exact same reaction, but you're just not triggering the so-called whites in the same way you're triggering the so-called blacks. That's the only difference.
Well, what's an example of something? If the whites were triggerable, how have they not been triggered?
All 401ks are now gone because the economy's gone.
They're not gone yet. The 401ks aren't gone
Well,
yet.
what I'm saying is,
If
once, like, I know we all know that's coming and that's not here yet, but if that were to be a government announcement, like, oh, hey guys, FYI, all of your 401ks are now worthless, the whites would be have a higher likelihood of being triggered by that. And then you would just have to trigger, like, oh, look, like, this is a joke, but let's close all the Starbucks. Let's close all the Sprouts. And, like, but the blacks, the so-called blacks, have different trigger points than the so-called whites. And so it just so happens that right now the so-called blacks are being triggered in a variety of very effective ways, culturally speaking. And so if you just flip that to targeting the whites, the controllers that be can do the exact same thing. It's just they have to use different trigger points. That's all.
I'm back. So what you were saying was interesting. It made me think that maybe the gravelers know they're going to gravel. Good old Ira Rothschild is going to gravel the Roth IRAs, and they know that the whites are going to want to rise up, so they're trying to get their black army defense crew to be anti-white.
No. The gravelers are most effective at manipulating minorities. So until the white people, so-called whites, are a minority, they will not be as vulnerable to the graveler lies as the various other minorities, which, surprise, surprise, which is why the Democrats are trying to make whites a minority, or so-called whites.
Well,
a minority.
Your theory you just said was that whites can get triggered to the point that they go into the Federal Reserve and start slitting throats.
They can, but that being said, I guess to clarify, thank you for that question. To clarify that position is one of the main reasons why whites seem, or so-called whites, seem to be so quote-unquote like invulnerable compared to the so-called blacks when it comes to these very specific triggering things, is because the so-called whites are currently the majority, which is one of the main reasons why these Democrats, communists, lefties, Marxists, whatever you want to call them, have charts on their offices until they're like, all right, this is the year in which we project the so-called whites will become a minority. Because once the so-called whites become a minority, then they become more vulnerable to social conditioning from these Marxist assholes. That's how they work. It's their playbook.
I was going with your theory that whites could be triggerable to the point of going in and splitting throats.
They can be, but as long as the so-called whites are the majority of the victim country, it's going to be drastically more difficult. But once the level of minorities increases that makes the whites also a minority, then you're going to see in the mainstream media being like, oh, whites are the minority now. Let's push the victim narrative to the whites. And by pushing that victim narrative, that's going to make the whites much more susceptible, or so-called whites. That being said, is even now that whites have either 60 or 70% majority in the majority in the majority of states as of right now. The vast majority of so-called whites are so weak that they're already becoming susceptible to these various victim narrative things. And so as the so-called whites lose their demographic majority, their victim narrative is only going to increase, which will make them more vulnerable to these various Marxist ideologies.
So then whites should not be responding to... whites should not be like talking about how they don't have privilege.
Correct. We don't have a privilege. If anything, black people and minorities, all minorities, have a privilege over whites in this country.
We shouldn't be saying that because it sounds like a victim.
Well, yeah, like, it's not like I'm not saying, oh, I'm a victim because if I have the same score a black person does, they're more likely to make it to college. No, that means I need to get a better fucking score and outscore the black person or outscore whoever the fuck this minority is. Because if I outscore them, I'm still gonna win. Like, they can have all the little victim cards they want, but if I outscore them by leaps and bounds, they're still gonna lose.
This goes in line with our tall man complex conversation. That
I love you just made that connection. That's hilarious.
because we're saying like, okay, sure, black people get more handouts, but that actually sucks for them because then they end up being a baby when they don't get their way. Like tall men.
Oh, great. You're 7 feet tall? That just means you have extra victim cards when you don't get what you want.
Yes, we flip the tables on the narrative. Once again, JapJap there. We've done it. What else happened today? Any other gravy notes?
Oh, so I think it was Welder Bear that recently posted this like 12-hour documentary on the German perspective of World War II, and I'm like an hour into it, and honestly, this is my own fault, but I keep getting bored because the vast majority of the first portion of this long ass documentary is just like reiterating shit that I already know. I was like, fucking tell me something I don't know. This is so boring. And so I just keep listening to it in segments, and then I keep getting bored because I haven't learned anything
You know what most normal non-Japanese people think when they just hear 12-hour documentary on World War II?
Don't watch it?
They think that sounds incredibly boring, and you went through an hour to come to that realization.
Well, I'm going to go through the whole thing because I assume if someone has made a 12-hour documentary, they're going to know at least one thing I don't know. That's my assumption. If I get through the whole 12 hours and I haven't learned anything, I will be butthurt.
Oh, yeah. Someone sent me a 12-minute documentary of the World War II from a German perspective. I might tune in. If it was someone that like, if you posted it, I would most likely tune in. So,
well,
12
yeah,
hours?
I'm going to waste your guys' time with a 12-hour documentary. If there's gravy, I'll do clips, so I save your time. Because your time is valuable.
This is the Sicilian in me is like, okay, how do we find the shortcut? So if we just deal the gasoline ourselves, then we can charge $1 a gallon. And we don't
So
have
what's
to worry
the shortcut?
Huh?
What's the shortcut of watching a 12-hour documentary and getting the gravy in less than 12 hours?
Well, one, you can put it on 2 times speed if it's on YouTube.
Ooh, it's not on YouTube, but I wonder if this also has that. Because you're right, they do speak kind of slowly.
Maybe
And that's a very basic thing I should have thought of.
Maybe 1.5 times speed. 2 times, you could follow 2 times, but that's, gets fast. Especially if there's music in the background. I watch every video on at least 1.25 speed when I watch YouTube, like everyone. Because most people talk too slow. So, if you put it on 1.25, you're about normal talking speed usually. 1.5 like
That is a very good idea. I just changed the video. Going forward, it's now 2 times speed.
You're welcome. I shaved that would be 6 hours off your life.
Yeah, dude, you literally just saved me 6 hours.
See,
I'm very appreciative of that.
The Japanese side is very patient and will listen with discipline of every hour, and the Sicilian says, hey, why don't you just speed that bitch up 2 times, get yourself get yourself 6 more hours on your life.
Well, it's like the JapJap in me is like, oh, you spent so much time making this elaborate production. I must listen to all of it and appreciate it to its fullest. And the Sicilian is like, no, dude, I already know most of this shit. So let's fast forward the shit I know and get to the shit I don't know.
That's for sure. If you told me I had to watch that whole, like, I had to watch it in some way from beginning to end, it would be like 2 times speed, and I'd skip, like, if I know this, I'd skip 5 minutes. Know this, skip 5 more minutes.
Well, dude, like, I've been trying to listen to it all day today, and I've only gotten, to be fair, 46 minutes and 25 seconds in. Because for the first, like, 30 minutes, it was like, all right, yeah, I know this, yeah, I know that, all right, cool, everyone knows fucking that, blah, blah, blah. And then for the last, like, 15 minutes, like, I was just like, all right, I can't listen to this anymore. Pause. Let me listen to something, like, YouTube video that I give a shit about where I can learn. And then, like, I would keep going back throughout the day. It's like, all right, let me listen to a little bit more. And I listened to, like, 4 or 5 minutes, and I'd be like, fuck, I'm already bored. And then I would go on to something else. But I'm determined to listen to the entirety of this documentary.
I do have to give you a warning. I had a 2.87 GPA in school, so my study habits are not exactly leading you to excellent grades. So take them with a grain of salt.
I have like a 75% eidetic memory. My study habits are poor beyond belief. I get where you're coming from.
What was your GPA in high school, though? In the 2 years, the only 2 years that mattered, sophomore and junior. Didn't you fill out your transcript with a GPA and they only count those 2 years and stuff?
I think it was like 3 point something.
Like 3.8.
Yeah, that sounds right. Like 3.6, 3.8, somewhere around there. So like high 3 point something.
You were pretty much, you were all A's and B's, mostly A's.
Yeah.
Because you had a
But that being said, when I went to college, I stopped giving a fuck. And my GPA, like, dropped drastically because I saw the bullshit in the college courses, and due to the high level of bullshit, I lost a significant amount of motivation to do anything. So, like, I would take the tests and, like, ace the tests. It's just the homework was retarded, and I would spend most of the class period correcting the teacher. So it's like, fuck you, bro.
I have this reoccurring nightmare that I didn't finish a class that I was supposed to finish to get my degree. And then I have to go back to this class, but then I never could do the assignments, and then I, like, waste the whole semester, and I'm like, I'll do it later, and then I never get it done. And then not only did I not get my degree, I went back to school to get my degree, and then I didn't get it again. Traumatized by the education system.
So I find that story funny because junior year of high school, I actually got kicked out of my high school twice. At the time I was going to a private Christian high school, and the first semester of junior year, I got kicked out for allegedly being involved with the drug group, like the drug selling like cartel in this Christian school academy. They couldn't prove it, but they expelled me nonetheless. And then my parents threw a bunch of money at the school, and I got accepted to the spring semester, and it was like 2 weeks before I got expelled again. And so, like, Sergeant Peterson Bear, welcome, hailing from Arizona. So after the second time being expelled, I did online school for, like, the majority of my junior year. But then when I went back to, like, normal high school, like public high school, senior year, it was to the point where I didn't have enough credits, and so, like, that was a legitimate concern for me, where I didn't have enough credits to graduate high school on time, so I had to take additional online, like, high school, because I was such a fuck-up in junior year.
I just thought of another conspiracy theory as you were talking about this.
Love to hear it. Continue.
So I was picking up food, and there was a group of high school students. I'm like, hey, what do you guys think of remote learning? And they're like, it's kind of boring, but it's really easy to get good grades. And I was thinking, like, this could be all I mean, it seems like every single industry took advantage of COVID-19, and that might be the understatement of the year, by the way.
Well, why wouldn't they?
Right. I mean, I'm taking advantage of COVID-19. So what if they're like, oh, okay, we'll do the online schooling.
Why does your audio suck now? Like the second you got out of your car, your audio just like dropped off the cliff, bro. And now you're loading.
It's on my Bluetooth.
Now you're back. All right, good to go.
It was on my Bluetooth. Okay. I'm at the gas station like JapJap Bear. No, what if they did the online schooling so everybody can get good grades, even the black people, and then they all can get into Stanford, which is going to be online, so they'll have like Stanford or Harvard or whatever, which is all going to be online, so they'll have like unlimited enrollment, and the universities, just because people are starting to give up on college, but now everyone's going to be able to get into the good colleges.
That's a very valid point I had yet to consider. Because you're right, online school is significantly easier to get a good grade than regular school.
Oh, these teachers right now, they don't give a fuck. The teachers are seeing this school year as a complete wash. And you think they're going to give any student less than a C? No way. It's going to be so easy to get like an A or a B this year. Like everyone's going to have 4.0.
Mm-hmm.
And then the black people are like, why didn't I get into Harvard? I got a 4.0. You're racist. So then they just make a new law that every black person gets into Harvard or whatever. And then they all take a Graveler loan to get that special.
Yeah, like to reinforce your point, we've got like 4 minutes left, and I'm only going to do an hour tonight because I want to be consistent, but I'm not feeling 2 hours.
Because we have one fall. I ruined your stream, I'm telling you. Or I'm graveled, or you're graveled, or something. Or Big Bear's.
No, you didn't ruin my stream. It's just like right now I don't have the motivation, and I don't want to just like, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Non-genuinely do an extra hour. I would rather have 1 hour and be genuine than do 2 hours and be non-genuine.
We got some gravy, but go ahead. What were you gonna say about the schools now?
To support your point, one of my close friends from high school is now a teacher, and not close friend, but more of an acquaintance. And dude, he's like the biggest like drunk pothead, like just shitbag I know. And he's like in charge of teaching our young minds for the next generation.
Right. Yeah, that was like me when I was a teacher. And what does he say about teaching this year?
I haven't talked to him this year because he's socially distanced from me because of my unacceptable belief systems. But the last time I talked to him, he was just a drunk, like a stoner that wasn't really doing anything, which is ironic because I drink a lot and I smoke a lot, but like, negatively influence the youth, which I guess is a bonus.
Conversation with teachers, but they're such victims, and
yeah,
they're gonna always pretend like teaching's a hard job emotionally, and it is a hard job, but like I haven't heard one teacher say anything positive about distance learning. And if they're honest, I would think they'd be like, well, I don't know. They're actually forcing the teachers to go into the classroom to do their teaching, which I guess that still makes. I was going to say that maybe they have some more freedom of time because they're teaching less hours, but I think they're getting fucked like every essential job.
Exactly. Breeder Bear, welcome, welcome. Unfortunately, Breeder Bear, we only have 30 seconds left.
Well, it was a great chat. We did, Breeder Bear, we found out that Queen Sheba is the single mother of all black people.
Yeah, dude, the Queen Sheba gravy was surprisingly intense. I'm glad we got to that.
Save this stream so I can go and capture that and put it out.
Yeah, I'll definitely save it. 15 seconds left, so I have to bid adieu for the evening. But dude, Trainer Bear, always a pleasure and a blessing to speak to you, brother.
You too, my man.